Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Yesshift News Desk Edition. News has piled up, and now is the time to talk about it all. Shorter gap than the previous gap, but still a bunch to talk about, I would say. So it just seemed like a good time to do all this, especially being in a yesy mood. And yeah, I know that this week is kind of packed on our end. Just letting you know off the top, tomorrow, Wednesday, August 25th at 5 p.m. Pacific US time, we do have Charles Snyder on the show, author of The Strawberry Bricks Guide to Progressive Rock. We were able to reschedule with him. Dad and I talked about his book last time that we talked about it, and now we're gonna have him on tomorrow, so we got that sorted out. But also on Thursday, August 27th at noon Pacific US time, so that'd be 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. UK time, Dad and I will share our thoughts on the new album The Roaring Waves by Steve Hackett and Steve Rothery, which comes out this Friday. So we'll share a review of that. So yeah, kind of a packed week in terms of Yesshift episode releases this week. But yeah, it also felt like a good time to talk about some of this Jeff Downs related stuff, with it being his birthday today. I've been meaning to talk about the second single from the new Asia album, Indigo. And also there was a throwback post about an MTV airing featuring the original Asia lineup back in 2006. And we've also got another update on the Alan White documentary that's been in the works. And there's also been a listing over on yesworld.com of the upcoming reissue of Magnification. This is something we've known about for a while that would be happening, so we finally get visual and details about that, and there will be more details coming out. So yeah, got a bunch to talk about, and I know today it's been a pretty heavy past hour, a couple of hours, because of the passing of Dolly Parton, a huge legend in music in general, not just in her genre, but a huge footprint in music history. So, condolences to the family and anyone who knew her. There have been some passings recently in music, of course. There's also Frank Beard of ZZ Top. I actually saw a post by Jay Shellen about, I think this was on the 20th. He said, "Very sad hearing of Frank Beard passing. He was such a cool guy. Growing up in New Mexico, major ZZ fan, have all their records. Frank had his own groove swing. You could feel the Texas wind in that groove. I was lucky enough to tour with them, opening with Danny Johnson and the Bandits on their Southern Leg of the Eliminator tour, and record at their studio. I was in awe of the scope of it all, and Frank, Billy, and Dusty were true gentleman heroes. They were so cool to us. Peace and blessings be with you, Frank, and also with your family and friends. Thanks for giving us all a great musical ride." So very nice of Jay to share that in honor of Frank Beard. So the Alan White documentary, over on the Alan White Facebook page, or I suppose this might have been on Michael McMorrow's page and might have tagged the Alan White page, but in either case, the documentary has started some filming in England, over in Ferryhill and in Pelton. And from what I understand, these places were very much part of Alan White's early life. So that's very neat that they're showcasing these places where Alan lived. And I think that'll be nice to intercut between anything else that they put in this documentary, interviews. I'm sure some of the concert footage from that tribute concert from 3 years ago will be in there. So I'm very curious to see how this will be edited together. But yeah, it's always great to hear when there's more movement on this documentary. It kind of gives us a better idea of when to expect it. Now that it's filming, it feels like it could come sooner. Um, I don't know how soon. I would expect, and I don't know anything. Sometimes documentaries take a couple years to come out, even after they've been filmed. But I would think maybe in the next year or two we could see this. But that's my own guess and speculation. So I guess we'll see what ends up happening. But great to hear that this is in fact in motion. All right, so getting to Jeff Downs related stuff, this has been a very busy year for him. And, today is his birthday. And he is now, how old is he now? Let's see, Jeff Downs, 74. Okay, yeah. So it's been a huge year for him between different releases from the bands he's been involved with. Yes released Aurora earlier this summer, and next up will be the Downs Braid Association album Trauma on September 25th, I believe it is. There's actually a photo shared by Mark Almond on his Instagram where he said, at the piano with Christopher Braid, recording a song called Juliet about a murderess. The new DBA album is out September 25th. It's called Trauma. So, yeah, and like I talked about last time, we've heard the first single from that, Wonderlands, and that is a really great song. So, looking forward to hearing how the rest of that album sounds. And of course, there's this other thing that Jeff has been very busy with, this whole Asia thing. Now, earlier this month, there was earlier this month or was it last month? Maybe, I don't know, but there's the single, The Traveler into Light, and talked about that on the show and how it's very heavy hitting track, really has that Asia feel and gives you the idea that, yeah, Asia is back. And, it's with the current lineup, Jeff Downs, Harry Whitley, Virgil Donati, and John Mitchell. Very strong lineup. And a couple weeks ago, we got the second single from the album. It's titled Echo of You. Now, this is a bit more of one of those moodier Asia tracks. So between these two singles, you get kind of the main points that people might think right away when they hear Asia's music. I see in the comments over on YouTube from the Citizen Tula, hello, I managed to catch a stream. I'm so happy. Yeah, great to have you here. I remember when you tuned in, I think it was during the Billy Sherwood interview. Was that a couple of months ago now? Or I don't know, time is weird. But yeah, so I really enjoy this new song, Echo of You. Between the two singles, I'm not sure which one I prefer. Sometimes I do go for the more moodier ones, so I feel like Echo of You is kind of sticking with me a bit more. I also quite like the videos. For The Traveler, we see the band performing together in some sort of studio location, I believe. But in Echo of You's video, you get black and white footage of the band members traveling to these different places. And I really do generally prefer this over. Sometimes you get like the CGI footage of different things without including the band members, or there will only be photos of the band members. Like Dad and I have talked about, we really enjoy when the band members are involved and shown within the videos themselves. So yeah, I thought this was really well edited and a good tune. Again, if you haven't listened to Echo of You, give it a listen. It might echo in your ears afterward. Sorry, it's been a very busy time. And yeah, I'm trying to share this video around online while I do this. Yeah, it's a good thing I have this listed on always too. But yeah, I really enjoy the song. It's cool that the new album is coming out November 6th, which is my birthday. Very much looking forward to what this new iteration of the band has to offer. Now, there's also a throwback post that I saw earlier today, and you can find this video on YouTube. It's called VH1 Classic Hang with Asia, and this happened on August 25th, 2006, 20 years ago today. And this this included, the original Asia lineup: John Wetton, Carl Palmer, Jeff Downs, Steve Howe, and they were being interviewed, and they even played a couple tracks unplugged. So they did Don't Cry and The Smile Has Left Your Eyes. So you would see Carl Palmer with a tambourine, which I'm not sure if I'd seen him with a tambourine before. This was my first time ever watching this video. I did not catch it back in the day. I wasn't watching MTV really at that age when I was 11, almost 12, unless it was that reality show Rob and Big, but which I'd watch with my brother. But yeah, this was a really fun trip down memory lane, and hearing them talk about the reformation of the original lineup, and they even gave Jeff Downs a birthday cake, which reminded me of when something similar happened during an interview with Yes around the time of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. It was Steve Howe's birthday. So yeah, I thought that was very nice to see in this video. Now, also related to Jeff Downs, we have these Trevor Horn video clips that Trevor Horn is continuing to share on his Facebook page. And in one of these, he talks about, I think he talked about Video Killed the Radio Star, and we get to see Bruce Woolley talking as well. And footage of Jeff Downs is included there. He also told a Bruce Woolley story where he had Bruce Woolley rehearse the opening lines of something for like 3 hours. Trevor is like, yeah, that probably wasn't a good idea, and included the I'm tired of this, Grandpa, that clip from Holes. Like, that took me off guard and was really fun. Trevor Horn also shared a rehearsal footage of he and his band performing Owner of a Lonely Heart. They're rehearsing that for the Rewind Festival, which I think may have already happened. But yeah, so again, happy birthday to Jeff Downs. Really looking forward to Trauma and Indigo, those albums. All right, so next up on here, it is also Joe Cass, his birthday, drummer of Total Master Tane, the Yes tribute band. And he actually recently posted an interview that he did with Billy Sherwood. I see the Citizen Tula chiming in again, saying, I think the Billy interview was last month. I think referring to the interview that Dad and I did with Billy. And saying, right after that, I helped write the questions for another interview by a friend conducted with Billy, which I was not expecting at all. And I'm also happy that there's a new music video for Asia that actually has a band in it, LOL. Yeah. Meadowlander chiming in saying, is the Magnification Reissue vinyl only? So I'll touch on that further into this broadcast, but I'll tell you right away that for now, only the vinyl and cassette editions are listed. However, Bob Seska did comment that the CD edition will come out in December. So a little bit more on that later. And Kagdas Ogre says, hey. And the Citizen Tula says, honestly, I wouldn't mind if it was vinyl only. I'm really big on vinyl. I'm just excited to see the new art. Yeah, I'm excited about the art for Magnification 2 on that vinyl edition. And yeah, there are pros and cons to vinyl and CDs. With vinyl, we get the artwork all big. But with CDs, there's also that convenience factor of playing it on something smaller or in the car or something. So there's that, of course. All right, so where was I? Oh, okay. So yeah, Joe Cass posted his interview with Billy Sherwood. It was a little more than an hour long. It was great conversation. They talked about Aurora. They even talked a bit about Open Your Eyes. And something that I don't think I knew before was that Billy really wanted the Open Your Eyes album to be titled Universal Garden. He felt that had a more imagery to it and feels for yes, you know. But the label, I'm really want to Open Your Eyes be the title. That was the single for the album. Yeah, like if it was titled Universal Garden, I wonder, would they still have gone with just the Yes logo against a black background, or would they have gotten Roger Dean to make something that reflects that title, Universal Garden, a bit more? I don't know. It's very interesting to think about. The Citizen Tula says, I definitely agree with Billy. Universal Garden would have been a way better title, in my opinion. Yeah, it's a great track, that one, too. It feels, I love the track Open Your Eyes. It's very, it's got all these twists and turns. It's very catchy, but Universal Garden also feels a bit more classic, yes, in a way, but also modern. I'm not really sure how to describe it. And, Billy was also giving props to John Anderson for coming up with that bit in Universal Garden where it's like, the minds of illusion. I don't know all the lyrics right away off the top of my head at the moment, but that bit. Meadowlander says, ideally a Blu-ray with high-res audio will come too for magnification. Yeah, I guess we'll see about that as well. But okay, so yeah, that was a great interview. And speaking of Roger Dean, I know his birthday is coming up next week, I believe on Monday. But yeah, he's continued his Facebook posts of his different works of art. Curiously, in today's post about his artwork for The Quest, and he was talking about influences like Buddhist temples and whatnot. He referred to it as the final Yes album. Now, I wonder if maybe some of the text got reused from a while ago, where at the time maybe it was the most recent Yes album, or I don't know, maybe there's some other wording that was meant to be included there. But yeah, it's definitely not the final Yes album as we've seen. And Mirror to the Sky and Aurora, both of which he's worked on, the artwork for both of those. So kind of a curious thing, but yeah, really love seeing Roger Dean's art, whether it's new or a reminder of the stuff he's done before. He's just got that style that meshes really well with Yes. Next up, well, speaking of, I mentioned Total Master Tane being a tribute band and whatnot, but I guess that leads us to covers, covering songs and whatnot. Andy Graziano from John Anderson and the Band Geeks, he played a set in Sellersville Theater recently where he did Leaves of Green, of course, from The Ancient, Horizons by Steve Hackett, and Mood for a Day, that Steve Howe piece from Fragile, and really impressively played in the video that he shared. And Dad shared this one with me, a video of a band called Fat Mez, or I believe it's a band, or I don't know if maybe that's the name of someone in the band, some sort of nickname or something. But anyway, they covered Long Distance Runaround, which is not one of the first Yes tracks I would expect a band to cover, though of course I think Project incorporated a bit of that when they played their Yes part of the set last year. But yeah, it was done very well. A great cover. But yeah. Okay, so I guess we'll get into the magnification of it all now. So I'll go ahead and share this banner image of it and share the correct window. All right, so the 25th anniversary release of Magnification, available on half-speed mastered double LP and cassette tape. Now, on the Yes World store, you'll see the US store and I think the Europe store or something. But I remember hearing that the cassette version, which is limited, may have sold out. But I guess if you want to pre-order these, you'll have to go to the store and see what it says about availability. But yeah, these are due for release on September 18th. So about a week after the 25th anniversary of Magnification. And we have also heard, like I mentioned earlier, Bob Cesca said that the CD edition will come out in December. Now, previously, we'd heard that John D worked on, making sure that the re-release of Magnification would also include other versions of the tracks, which would be without the orchestra. Now, I was not clear on whether these are demos or basically the tracks but before the orchestra got put onto them. But yeah, I do wonder if maybe that could be part of the CD box set that comes out in December. I don't know at the moment. But yeah, I quite like the look of these. So if you want the vinyl, you could get that now for sure. Yeah, I like this artwork here. You get these orbs, and this looks like some sort of wormhole or vortex type of thing, when you open up the vinyl thing. And this artwork under the Magnification title, you get these orbs again, and it really does look better than what ended up on the Magnification cover all those years ago. And Bob Cesca has said himself that back then it didn't turn out how he wanted. There's this printing era and it looked so dark. If you look down here on one of the vinyl sleeve things, it looks like you got the Elias symbol thing on. Is it on a desk or a floor? What is that? Let me see if I can zoom in a bit more. Yeah, I don't know if there are some other objects surrounding it, but yeah, I guess that gives you a bit of a teaser. It makes you want to see what that is all about. But yeah, this is an album that has become kind of a, it's had its defenders even back in the day, but I feel like the following for it has grown a bit since then, especially over the last several years when people would be like, why isn't this on streaming? So yeah, very much looking forward to this 25th anniversary edition. And I'll go ahead and share the I see the comments. The Citizen Tula saying, I've been excited for this re-release since it was teased near the beginning of the year. This is my favorite Yes album of all time, honestly. Oh, that's really cool to hear. Just out of curiosity, the Citizen Tula, when did you come into Yes fandom? What was your introduction, and how long after that did Magnification come out? Because it really is a great album. They tried without a keyboardist, managed with an orchestra, and somehow made it work. And then there was that symphonic tour. Here's a picture of just the vinyl. Perhaps gives you a better look of the album cover there. I'll zoom in a little bit more. Yeah, so you got that. And I'll show the cassette version as well. It's this tab. Yeah, I got this one zoomed in already. So that's what the cover art looks like. And this is what the cassette tape itself looks like. It's purple. It's got the Elias symbol here. And yeah, it looks like on one side you have 5 tracks, on the other side you have 5 tracks. The same seems to be true of the vinyl, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, it says copyright 2025 here. So I think they've had this ready for a while, or at least some of it ready. But yeah, Mercury, they have the rights to a good chunk of the Yes catalog from 2000 onward, which is why you've had them re-releasing Symphonic Live earlier this year, as well as From a Page Expanded Edition. Let's see. Gilly Good News is chiming in over on YouTube saying, love Magnification. At the time, saw Yes with Rick play the title track live in Sydney 2003. Yeah, it's cool that Rick was, he played that and in the presence of, if I remember correctly. But yeah, Magnification, glad that that's getting its 25th anniversary reissue. And the December CD edition release, I kind of wonder if that's to emulate, because wasn't the US release of the album in December of 2001? Like it had to be pushed back or something. I kind of wonder if it's for that reason, or if maybe certain things about the CD set still need to get ready. I do kind of wish that they could have been released all together, but then again, maybe this is a way to be like, okay, look, we have the vinyl and cassette editions, and then later on, so you don't have to decide, should I get the vinyl or the CD? And later on, people might decide, oh, if there's a CD edition as well, gotta get that now. So maybe they get, more return on investment with that strategy. I don't know. But I'm happy that it's happening either way, that Magnification is in the spotlight once again. The Citizen Tula says, I first got into Yes around 2009, playing Roundabout on Rock Band 3, LOL. I remember that. Wow. I'm a cellist, and I used to watch the Symphonic Live DVD as a kid and dream that I could have been in that ensemble in 2002. That would be... Yeah, man, that's a really cool journey there, Citizen Tula. Gilly Good News says, wonder when the John D. Nude Magnification CD box set will drop. So by nude, Gilly Good News means without the orchestra. But like I said earlier, according to Bob Seska, the CD edition will come out in December, and I guess we'll see then what that includes. And we are actually going to have Bob Seska on the show again in mid-September. Right now, we have him scheduled for Thursday, September 17th, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. UK time. If anything needs to change slightly on any of our ends, we'll still try to make it work around the time of that release date, that September 18th release date. But yeah, something to look forward to. And I see the Citizen Tula says, I'm very biased toward the Yes songs / albums with orchestration. Haha. That's really cool. All right, so that's a little Magnification update. Other stuff I've seen online, I saw that Dave Kersner on August 9th made a post where he said, big thank you to my buddy Tom Brislin, who invited us to see Kansas and Deep Purple tonight. Great to see Joe Dennison and the rest of the group. Both bands were amazing. Don't miss this double bill if they come to your town. And yeah, this is a double bill that I myself have been wondering now and then if I'll be able to go and see. I know that for certain shows, there's even a triple bill that includes Jefferson Starship as well. So there are a couple options there, a couple shows where it's one or the other, and one is closer to me, one is a little bit further from me, but not too far away. But whether I'll be able to make it to either of those shows, I'm not quite sure at the moment. There's been, with all the busyness on my end, there's been some give and take with certain things and certain choices I needed to make. So I'm not quite sure at the moment, but I imagine the shows are amazing and have been amazing. But speaking of Kansas, I did see a reminder that the Robbie Steinhardt album, Not in Kansas Anymore, which was released a few years ago and it was after his passing. That you can still get that in the Solar Music store. That's solarmusic.com. I believe there's even a 3D poster, and you might be able to get the album in different formats. Patrick Moraz performed on that album, but yeah, go ahead and check that out if you haven't already. It's a really great album. I remember it really blew me away when I listened to it upon its release. All right, what else do we have here? We got Oliver Wakeman updates. He's continued posting videos answering questions from fans, which are really great, really engaging. What is Sis and Tula saying here? Okay, yeah, I'll get to that in a bit. But also, Sis and Tula says, when you interview Bob Seska, you have to ask him about what? Okay, I'm gonna have to look into this. Let me take a picture of this just so I have it. It'll be easier than if I try copying and pasting it somewhere. But yeah, okay. So Oliver Wakeman, he's been answering some questions from fans, and one of the questions he answered is one that I'm sure many fans have had on their minds, which was, would you play with Yes again if you were invited back into the band? And this was actually a scenario I was wondering about maybe a week or two ago, before even seeing him answer this question. And he echoed something that I'd also thought, which was like, out of that lineup that Oliver was in, Steve Howe would be the only one who'd also be in the band, with Benoit having retired and whatnot, and Chris and Alan having passed. And Oliver said in this video that he doesn't know Jay Shellen, he doesn't know John Davison. He does talk to Billy Sherwood now and then, and they've appeared on records together. But ultimately, he answered, it would be different, but if I were invited to play with the band again, yeah, I'd be open to it. And so it'd be really cool if he were able to play with the band again. And he did mention that Jeff Downs is he's doing very well in the band. And all things considered, though, I personally feel like Jeff Downs, he feels like when it comes to priorities, he's still very much involved in Aurora than in the previous couple of people have noted that a couple of the other keyboard parts are band members. And, Jeff Downs, he does play the set, goes on tours with Yes, but even so, in my head, this is me from the outside looking in. So like, what do I know? I feel like it feels like his main priorities, if you were to list the priorities, I would think Yes is maybe, it's not too far away from the other two, Downs Braid Association in Asia, but to me, it feels like Yes is maybe third place, or really DBA and Asia feel like they're tied for third place, and then Yes is like a close second. So if there were ever a situation where he felt like he needed to just focus on Asia and DBA, and then they maybe invite Oliver Wakeman back into the band, that would be an interesting scenario. But will that ever happen? I don't know. And like, what material might they play if that were to happen? Not sure, but it's an interesting combination to think about, you know? But yeah, so interesting seeing those Oliver Wakeman Q&A videos. He also mentioned, another question he was asked was about how it seems like he is spearheading the marketing of From a Page, and how involved is Yes in that. And he's mentioned that he's was involved with Yes management, in touch with them in the lead up to either these From a Page releases, and how it was actually Yes management who I think they were the ones who let him know that the rights to From a Page were now with Mercury, and that maybe you should like get in touch with them and see what could be done. And the results speak for themselves. We got the expanded edition, and he talked about how he would visit Steve Howe and play the material for him, to get his thoughts on it. And apparently back in the day, Alan really enjoyed listening to From a Page on a drive, back when Alan was still with us. And Oliver said he's heard some very nice comments from Gigi and from Scotty, from Alan and Chris's wives. So, Yes management and the band members seem like they've been supportive of it, even though Oliver has been doing most of the spearheading of, marketing it around. And, Yes currently have had a lot to spread the word on, the from the Aurora release, the newest Yes album, and then you have these archival re-releases like Magnification, or Rhino doing the Live at Roosevelt 76 release. So yeah, it's quite a juggling act, I would think. Let's see. We got more comments. Gilly says the two Olivers for Yes. Now, are you referring to Oliver Day and thinking maybe he could play guitar in Yes someday? He could definitely play the music. That would be interesting, but we'll see. I don't know. The Citizen Tula says, I get what you mean. It does feel like Jeff is a little tapped out of Yes, and I think about other keyboard players who could potentially be up. Although it's cool how long this lineup has lasted so far compared to all the others. LOL. Yeah, I'm not sure if Jeff is tapped out per se. It does feel like he the other band members to do their thing, and then he'll like be a team player and whatnot. And yeah, he has been the longest continuous keyboardist of Yes, 15 years now. That's beaten Tony Kaye's record of, I think it was 11 years, after he came back. He quit during 90125 and then came back and then was with the band up until the end of the Talk tour. Gilly Good News says Oliver Day. That's what he was referring to. But yeah, and Oliver Wakeman also posted about how over at Burning Shed, there's a special offer on his Collaborations CD box set for a short while of just $18.99, and that's in British pounds. So a little bit of a markdown there. He says the box set features me with Steve Howe on the 3 Ages of Magic album, and the albums I recorded with Gordon Giltrap, these being Ravens and Lullabies, and the unreleased From a Stage live album featuring the Sweets Paul Manzi. And yeah, this is Dad and I reviewed this a few years ago and talked with Oliver about it. It's a really great set, definitely worth having in your collection. And he says here you get art cards and full 16-page booklets for each album plus bonus tracks. So yeah, there you go. Check that out. And he also mentioned not long now until Dad and I take the Rick Wakeman and Son show up to the Lothrop Pavilion Theater on the 5th, 6th, and 7th of September. The 5th and 6th are pretty much sold out, and the 7th is selling very well. This is the last time, as far as I know, that we are doing the show as a duo in the UK, so please do come along if you fancy seeing the show. I'm sure that must be a lot of fun. Now, over on to Rick Wakeman. I'll read a few of these other comments that have to do with him. Metalander says, Return to the Red Planet drops soon. Yes, it does, indeed. I believe that's in October. Let's see, Return to the Red Planet. Yeah, October 16th, according to what I'm looking at. So, really excited about that. And the Citizen Tula also says, Return to the Red Planet is my second most anticipated album this year besides Aurora. I'm so hyped for it. From the little bit I heard from it, it sounds awesome. Yeah, I think Aurora was my number one for the year as well, of completely new material, I should say. I think in second place for me, Return to the Red Planet, it might be a little further down, even though I'm really excited for it. But I'm also very much intrigued by DBA's Trauma album. And I think maybe even more so Asia's Indigo album, because it's the new current lineup. And I'm very curious to see how that whole thing turns out. So yeah, I think Indigo is probably my second most anticipated behind Aurora, and Aurora's passed, so now Indigo's my most anticipated. But really do want to check out Trauma when that comes out as well too, of course. Let's see. And Rick Wakeman is also going to be on this Engelbert Humperdinck album, and Engelbert is a singer I'm not very familiar with, but the album is called Faithfully. It comes out this Friday, August 28th, according to the Bandcamp page. There's a gold-colored vinyl LP, a purple, black, marble-colored vinyl LP, the clear gold, black, white splatter-colored vinyl LP, and a CD and a digital album. So Rick is, I believe, on one track. Let me just double check that. Yeah, he is on a track titled Beth, and this is a 15-track album. You also got other people on here: Ian Anderson, Bob Daisley, Al Di Meoli. So yeah, quite a bunch of guests on this, but Rick is on one track here. It's titled Beth. And okay, yeah, that makes sense. So this is Humperdinck's interpretations of blockbuster hits by Journey, The Cars, Kiss, Aerosmith, Ozzy Osbourne, and others. So yeah, it makes sense that there's a track called Beth on here, because I knew that was a Kiss song. Curious that Rick isn't on an Ozzy Osbourne song, but hey, it's something different. Yeah, you got Mama, I'm Coming Home. It doesn't list a guest next to that where I'm looking. So I kind of wonder if maybe there are guests on that, but maybe it'll be on the sleeve notes or something. I don't know. But yeah, that could be an interesting listen. Let's see, scrolling down. Metalander says, my number one for this year became Roosevelt Stadium, being from Jersey. I pre-ordered from Rhino and am still waiting for delivery. Yeah, sometimes with some of these listings now and then, I've heard people mention delays in some of their orders, like for that and for Aurora, depending on where they order it from. I do remember with the Jethro Tull Christmas album re-release, that had delays and the delivery of that. So yeah, sometimes that happens. Uh, Gilly Good News says, um, hang on, I lost it. Um, scrolling up. Hmm. Oh yeah, okay. So Hello Hello, I guess that's the opening track for the Downs Braid Association album Trauma. Yeah, I forgot that Wonderland wasn't the opening track. It was the first single. Interesting. Uh, the Citizen Tula says, he said he's finished already soon, pushing into the wind and causing effect, but I don't know if that'll be this year. Yeah, this year is almost over. I haven't heard anything about those yet, which to my knowledge, I'm not sure that we have. Maybe next year, but the more music from and the better. All right, looking at some of the other stuff I saw posted about, Dave Watkinson posted his Elias of Sunhillow unboxing video. He's been posting Elias of Sunhillow themed stuff in honor of the 50th anniversary of that amazing John Anderson solo album. So that's something people can check out. There was also a record collectors magazine, and among the contributions were some writing by Jerry Ewing, Kevin Morine, and Stephen Lamb. And on the most recent episode of Yes Music Podcast, Kevin and Mark talked about this record collectors issue. Actually have, I think this is Stephen Lamb's photo of the cover. Let me try to show the tab of that. And for the cover of that magazine, it has a Relayer era photo. So there you go. Long Distance Runaround, The Turbulent Tale of a Prog Rock Institution, album by album. So yeah, something for people to collect if they can find it. And I see Henry Potts chiming in saying Engelbert Humperdinck was huge in his day. He had a UK number one in 1967 at a time when the Beatles normally dominated the charts. Okay, yeah, that's quite a feat then, because the Beatles were really high up on the charts. But yeah, and Gilly says Engelbert toured Oz in July at 90. So would that be... Do you mean back in 1990 or this year? Oh, okay. He's 90 this year. Okay, wow, that's impressive. Wow. And moving along, speaking of Stephen Lamb, he is re-releasing Yes, every album, every song. It's revised and expanded to the point where it's divided into two books now. So you have Yes, 1968 to 1991, which makes sense to me because that ends with Union, which very much is a huge culmination in a way. And the other one is Yes, 1994 onwards. So going from Talk to pretty much now, and Aurora is included on the cover. Let me show the images for those. And these books are on pre-order over on Burning Shed, and they come out December 18th, according to the listings. So this is what that first book looks like, the 68 to 91 one. On the cover, you see John Anderson, and the cover art for Tales, Drama, 90125, and Fragile. And for the other one, you have Chris Squire on the cover. You got the, let's see, You got Aurora, Fly From Here, Talk, and The Ladder. Oh, that reminds me. We got a comment from someone who mentioned in response to our Fly From Here and Fly From Here Return Trip episode that the Return Trip artwork is on the inside of the original Fly From Here. And yeah, I checked, and that is pretty much the case. So yeah, something I never really noticed before. So yeah, it's cool keeping these books up to date. I don't think I've read. Well, I think Stephen Lamb may have posted thoughts on Aurora for like Prog Magazine or something, but I'd be interested to see what his thoughts are on each of those tracks in however much detail he did so. Maybe he did put something in something that's been published online and I just forgot. I don't know. But yeah, those books are available to pre-order. And the Citizen Tool says, I think it's nice that the second book goes from talk to now, since it was the beginning of Billy's official involvement in Yes. His whole arc so far is in one book. Oh, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, because he was technically involved in a track on Union and performed on it. But yeah, in the talk tour, he first performed with a band. And yeah, that's an interesting way of looking at it, his live performances onward. I saw that there was a video, a 4-minute excerpt from that Close to the Edge of Reason documentary, from the director of Yes Speak. And a bit of it very much felt like it was at least a little bit of the same footage from Yes Speak, this bit where Rick Wakeman, when the band walks on stage, he like talks to the camera a bit. Like I felt like that probably was in Yes Speak. But yeah, post-release, there was a 4-minute excerpt, and I've heard people here and there mention their thoughts on it. People had seen it and saying that apparently they wanted more live footage, which it's supposed to be more about I guess it shows more of the road crew and venues and stuff like that. So kind of similar to Yes Speak from the sounds of it. There's at least some overlapping footage. I don't know if there's maybe some of it is new, but yeah, you kind of get an idea of the vibe of this thing based on people's reviews of it. But yeah, kind of odd that this excerpt was not released until weeks after the release. Apparently, physical copies were ordered and it's a limited run or something. But yeah, it's still kind of a question mark to me, this documentary. But anyway, I guess I'll close with this kind of strange end with something not really Yes related, but kind of in a way, since Bill Bruford was part of this band. For any prog heads on their interest in this, I saw this post about King Crimson that said, due to popular demand and the last event in June selling out, Polygon Portal have announced another date to listen to Red in their spatial audio studio in Dean Street, London. The next date is Sunday, the 4th of October at 5 p.m., and ticket prices start from 26.10, and that's in British pounds. So 26 and then decimal point 10. And that's at the Polygon Productions website. So that's polygon-productions.live/portal/listening/king-crimson-red, or hyphen if you prefer that over dash. I don't know. But yeah, that's it for this News Desk edition. Almost a good hour here. So yeah, it was definitely a good idea to do this now before more stuff piled up. Thanks for those of you who tuned in live. Really cool to be able to interact with people and whatnot. And tune in, if you can, to our interview with Charles Snyder, author of the Strawberry Bricks Guide to Progressive Rock. That should be happening tomorrow, Wednesday the 26th at 5 p.m. Pacific. And then Thursday at noon Pacific, Dad and I are sharing our thoughts on The Roaring Waves, the new album by Steve Hackett and Steve Rothery. And who knows what'll happen next week. Maybe it'll be a week off since this week's already packed, but we'll see. We still have stuff in the pipeline and stuff we want to talk about. And of course, a Bob Cesca interview in mid-September. So thanks for tuning in, everyone, and we'll see you all soon.